Okay, can you all see a blank, pretty much blank tutor session 12.1.16 OneNote file over here?
Yep.
I haven't done any writing in yet because.
Yep.
First of all, how's everybody doing? Hope you're all having a good week, whatever. Anyway, all right. So I don't have. Listen, sometimes when I'm a guest in here, I have a couple of topics, a couple of questions that come to me prior. Today's not one of those days. Today's a little bit more of a free-for-all, so get your questions ready because I just have a slight something to talk about here before we take some questions. And I'm already seeing a couple of them come up in the chat box. So, all right. One thing that I had mentioned in some previous tutor sessions that actually came to fruition today is any exam you're going to take, and I recommend this is something you do at the tail end of your study, is to get a hold of the list of exam objectives, go through them one by one, make sure you know them comfortably. Let me give you an example. I actually had a coworker today who she was getting ready to take Microsoft Word, the certification test, and she's self-proclaimed to be quite proficient in Word, and she is. But, you know, she's like, okay, what do I do to help get ready? And so I sent her the objective list. Well, lo and behold, she said that one of the reasons that she passed today was because of the objective list, that she was able to go through it, fill in some last-minute holes, and so, you know what, she passed. So, Tristan is at least I'm talking about here, one of the writers. So, it really makes a difference, and for me, a lot of the tests that I've taken, it's helped to make a difference. And Caesar, you were alluding to this a little bit, as far as, you know, when you're talking about securing somebody's data, like you were looking for an encryption answer and not finding it, which that would be an answer if it's there. But then, you know, when you're going through the objectives, you got to figure out, okay, so if they don't have that for encryption, like what's the best way to secure data? And so you look at your different options. I mean, the thing that you have to figure out is when you're talking about securing data, is it securing data on a hard drive? Is it securing data from others? You know, there's a lot of different facets to that. One of the things that I always look for in questions like that about securing data is somebody else going to use my machine? That's a total tip right there. You know, if you're looking at, well, there's multiple people using the machine, what's the best way to do it? Well, part of it is encryption of folders. But if it's not there, then username and password. And then the other thing is when you get a troubleshooting question or a question on securing data, well, who are we securing? The real question is, who are we securing the data from? Other people on the network, from the outside? If we're just securing what's on the hard drive? So knowing the test objectives for those things, especially when it comes to A+, really will help you figure things out on the exam. By the way, the other one I can think of that it's important to know the context of that would be the MCA Mobility and Device Fundamentals exam, because they do talk about encrypting data a little bit there. So that's a whole other situation, because now you're looking at not just regular computers, but also, you know, tablets and stuff. So then it becomes, well, how do I secure data on my tablet? So there's all kinds of things there. So, but my point is that when you're getting near the end of your study, we're getting close, just make sure that you do go through all the objectives, you go through line by line. I've done it for many tests that I've taken in the last 2 years. It's really helped me. And I know that'll help you as well. Because it's almost been like when you get a test question, you can figure out, okay, which objective are they asking about? And then you have a better idea of what they're going for here. So that's my one small piece of advice. So let's see. Because I had a question about social engineering, and made me laugh because I thought about your phone call and the videos. Yeah. You know what? I actually had some inspiration on that one. There's a guy who, anyway, he runs what's called a bone work practice. It's kind of like a cross between chiropractic and massage therapy. But anyway, I severely messed up my back once, and I went to him, and he fixed it really quickly, actually. I had a bad muscle strain. And he sounded like this, and his name was Raymond. So those of you who've taken my taken our A+ courses, have you seen that in the video? And I do the, and this is Raymond from the help desk when I do the social engineering call. that's actually the guy I'm impersonating. So there's actually a real human being behind that story. So yeah, we had a little fun with that one. So yeah, I'm giving up a little inside secret there. Now I'm just hoping the guy that I did impersonate doesn't find out about it, because I don't want him to come find me and have a talk with me or anything. But no, he's a nice guy. It's cool. All right, so let's see. So that's one here. Now let's see, what else do we have? Having problems with Network Plus. Okay. Specifically what? We can have a Network Plus discussion here, no problem. Having? You mean like as in subnetting? Okay. All right. Are you talking about the having, as I put it in the video, as far as cutting number of devices in half depending upon what your subnet size is? Okay. All right. So I don't know what that noise is in the background, but whatever. All right. So a couple of things here. First of all, how many of you are actually doing Net Plus or are going to do Net Plus? Network Plus. Okay. Caesar, Caesar, we figure you're going there next, and I got Steven's hand up, I can see, and yeah, how convenient. I'm not on a computer that has a camera on it. Not today, anyway. But you see me on camera enough as it is. That's the thing. Okay, Aaron's doing it after A+, and okay, so it's quite a few of you. All right, so I'm going to go through a little live tutorial on subnetting basics, and you're talking about having and things like that. All right, so all this comes down to is there's one key, and that is when you're setting up the network, how many devices do you need to put on it? That's really what it comes down to. All right, and so you could get a test question saying, well, this needs to fit 50 devices, and you want as few left over as possible, or it needs 500 devices, and you want as few left over as possible. So you'll read and hear about probably 5 or 10 different ways to do this. Okay? So I'm going to give you the way I've always done it. It's worked for me. It's worked for people I've had the privilege of teaching in a classroom environment, which I did that for a long time before LearnKey hired me. Is it going to be the best method for you? Well, who knows? Okay? But I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. And Jason, since you're the one who asked the question, we'll see if it helps you out a little bit here. And then for the rest of you, when you get around the Network Plus, this is something you can at least somewhat to look forward to. All right. Those of you who have studied this a little bit, let's say that you get a network and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. Okay? Well, now let's go through a couple of things here. Now, some of you might know the answer to this already. If you don't worry about it. But if you do, what kind of a network is that? It's a class what? There's a letter that goes next to it. A class C. Yes, exactly. Some of you already popped that in the box. Exactly. It's a class C subnet. All right? Now, does anybody happen to know offhand how many devices, actually the correct really is number of available addresses? Do we know this? Okay, so this is interesting here. We're getting 254 and 256 is some answers here. 254, okay. 253, there's a guess. All right. So if you get a test question on this one's going to be a little bit nitpicky, all right? But you do have to make the distinction. I sound like I'm on a football film? Well, so anyway, there's a new phone too. Now you're making me wonder about this phone. But anyway, all right. So when you get the number of available addresses, it's actually 256. The number of available hosts, 254. Okay, so listen very carefully here. If you get a test question on this, be very careful as far as what they're asking you. Are we asking asking for the number of addresses or the number of hosts? Because the answer is a little different depending upon what the question is. All right? So that's the first part. The second part is, and Jason, this is really going to get to the heart of the matter. All right? When it comes to subnetting and trying to figure out, to try to learn the number of addresses available, I always start with a class C, which is what we have in front of us here. Okay? And here's the reason I do it. What you have to be able to do is take the decimal subnet mask that we have here, and what you've got to really do is be able to convert this to binary. Now, is it that important for what we're about to do? Sort of. But, and if you need to review on converting decimal to binary, we can always go there. But I'm just going to put the numbers up here for now. This is what it looks like in a binary fashion, okay? Is that 8 there? Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 8 zeros. All right? That's the binary translation of 255.255.255.0. Okay? So let's do a little counting quickly here. How many ones do we have total? 24, exactly. Okay? So we have 24 ones. So your equivalent of a class C is equal to a, yeah, you're right, one more zero. Thank you. All right. A class C equivalent is a /24 subnet because you have 24 ones in the subnet mask. Okay? Now, and Jason, this really gets to the heart of it. For each increase by 1 in the subnet mask, I'm just going to say binary here, all right? Cut the number of addresses in half. For each decrease by 1 in the subnet mask, and then binary, okay, not decimal, binary, all right? Always keep that in front of you. Double the number of addresses. Okay, so now the reason why I start with a class C here, a /24, is because it's the easiest one for me to remember, because it's the most common network. I mean, you go into a small business, you go into somebody's house, whatever, 90+% of the time the subnet mask is going to be 255, 255, 255.0. Now notice we're not paying any attention to what the IP addressing scheme is, because right now it doesn't matter. We're focusing on the subnet masks here. So, all right, so if we go with a /23, how many available addresses do we have now? Not hosts, addresses. I'm only focusing on addresses for a minute. Remember the rule. If you lose one from your subnet mask, you double the number of addresses. 512 addresses, exactly. A couple of you responded. Perfect. Okay. A /22 would be, do the math. 1024, right. By the way, if you just get approximate addresses here, you're fine. Okay. /21 is going to be a 2048, so it goes. I'm not going to continue it too far here. Now, if you're going the other way with this, and by the way, you're just as likely to get a test question on having to account for smaller networks. So the /25, that's going to be how many available addresses? $128, exactly. Okay, /26, 64 addresses, right. Okay, a /27, we'll do one more here. 32 addresses. Okay, so listen, we just covered very quickly here any test question you could possibly get on what's the slash going to be depending upon the number of devices needed. Just like that. Now, in real life, this is what you use to figure out what your subnet mask should be given the number of devices that you need to have. Now, as far as the number of hosts available, well, that's easy. Because once you figure this one out, all you do is subtract 2 from each, subtract 2 from the number of addresses to get your host here. Simple as that. Don't worry, I'm making this larger. There you go. So what's it look like with a /23 behind it? Well, let's do a couple things with this. Okay. /23. So let's go with this example here. Yeah, Steve, doesn't matter what computer or screen I'm on. I gotta wear my glasses all the time. So fret not, my friend. I'm just what you call slightly nearsighted. Actually, I'm completely nearsighted. Okay, so Aaron just put a question up here. It says, in real life, do you generally leave some room to add one in a design phase? Yes. Listen, in real life, anytime this nice little sidebar here, Aaron, thank you for asking, but in real life, if I'm doing this, I'm asking the client 2 questions. Number 1, how many people do you have now? Number 2, what's your growth over the next 3 to 4 years? Because here's what you do not want. You don't want to design and develop a network, and then you get a call 6 months later, you know, and it's like, we can't fit anyone on the network anymore. You made it, you know, what'd you do? You know, you don't want that call. You just don't want that phone call. So, you know what, if they can't figure it out, I'll just add like 50%. You know, so if they want 50 devices, I'll make room for 75. Now, if they want 500 devices, I'll make room for 750, whatever, you know. I mean, if you're working in a corporate environment, you'll probably have meetings about meetings to figure this out. If you're doing this for like a mom and pop shop, just make it a class C and get it over with. So it's the usual rule of thumb. But you know, I've been in some small businesses where they're very particular about the size because they just didn't want too many devices cluttering up a certain part of the network. And it was, I can give you one example. One place, they had a back room that had stations basically where people brought in their busted computers, all right? But half of them were because of a virus. So they didn't want too many devices on that particular subnet at a time, so they made it like a /27 or 28 or something. I don't remember exactly what they did, but that would be one reason why you'd segment that off more. But anyway, to get back to Jason's question, what this looks like, all right. So there's an easy way to do it, and the easy way that you use is once you figure out the calculations behind it. So the question on the table here is, what does a /23 look like? Well, the first thing you got to do is get the correct number of ones in here. Now, some of you might already know this, but with subnet masks, understand one thing. They always start with ones, and they always end with zeros. You're never going to have 101010 for a subnet mask. Never, never, never. Okay? And this is why when I used to teach this in classrooms, people always said, oh my gosh, I'm never going to know all these subnet masks. There's like 250 of these. No, there's 8 in each octet. Alrighty? What I'm talking about here is there's only 8 possibilities in each octet. So really, there's only 32 possible subnet masks, and in reality, you're only going to be dealing with maybe, oh, I don't know, 10 of these, unless you work for AT&T or something like that, you know, or Google. But what does /23 look like? Well, the first thing you do from a binary standpoint is you get your 23 ones in. We'll see if I get this right this time. Okay, that looks like 23 ones, so then the remaining numbers are zeros. I'm just waiting for somebody to get me on this again. I think I got 8 zeros this time. All right. That's what it looks like from a binary standpoint. Now, this is where we're going to get into the binary to well, I guess we'll go back and forth on this. But One of the things you need to know how to convert to make this work is binary to decimal. You could get a test question on Network Plus about a binary number you want to convert to decimal or vice versa. So here's how this works. And this is another one of those things where you're going to get several different opinions on how this should be done. But I'll give you mine. And you can take it and run with it as much or as little as you want. But anyway. Okay, so the biggest thing is basically go from right, start with 1. Every move left doubles the decimal. Now, this is better shown than explained here. So here's what I'm talking about. And I'm going to put this in terms of the maximum that you'll see for a Network Plus test, okay? All right, so I'm going to do a little table here. Here we go. I'll just scroll this over so you can see this. All righty. So we've got binary. Actually, I'm going to put decimal on top, okay? I'll put decimal on top. Binary numbers on the bottom. Yeah, this will work. And I'll make this a little bit larger here if I can. There we go. Okay. So let's say we've got all these binary numbers at the bottom here. So what do I mean by go from right to left and start with 1? Well, no matter how many binary numbers you have, the very last one is going to represent a decimal number 1. It doesn't matter if you have 4 binary numbers or 8 binary numbers or 1,000 binary numbers. Last number is always 1. Period. End of whatever, okay? Every move left doubles the decimal. So what do we mean here? Well, we just keep doubling up. Just like this. Now, why am I putting 8 numbers here? Well, what's this? Huh, yeah. More comments about my phone. You know what it is? I'm moving it too far from my speaking here, so I'll try to stay still. It's easier. Thanks for pointing that out. All right. So with this particular one here, now why am I using 8 numbers? Because this is as high as you'll get for having to convert binary to decimal or decimal to binary for the exam. The reason I say that is because, and I'll save you a little trouble here, if you add up all these decimal numbers, guess what? You get 255. Okay? So if I take and add all these numbers up in this instance, so the 8 decimal numbers add up to 255. Okay, so now in a subnet mask, oh, by the way, I got a question right here. Let's see what it says. I think just of it here. Can you give advice on a quick way to reverse configure decimal to binary? Absolutely, that's what I was going to do next. Aaron, you and I are on the same page here. This is good stuff. Okay, a scenario of what a tip, okay, hold on a second here. Yeah, my phone kept buzzing. That's probably what you all were hearing, so my apologies. It doesn't usually buzz that much. I'm not that popular, but whatever. All right. So, a scenario of a typical 8+ tech would find themselves doing this. Reality is not very often. The reality is that you might be looking at this if you're looking over a log of sorts, like maybe an output from Wireshark or something like that, and you're trying to do some figuring out of IP addresses, and maybe what you're getting in a log is just the binary numbers themselves. That would be a typical situation in which you would use this in real life. The other thing, of course, is that if you're trying to do a calculation to see what you should enter for a subnet mask if you're trying to configure a network. Although, I don't know of any techs who actually do this in real life. They just go to a website like subnet-calculator.com, punch some numbers in, and then figure it out. But if you're asking when you'd use the binaries, if you don't have a calculator in front of you, this would be the reason why. So that's the first part of your answer there, Aaron. So then you take decimals out to 255. All right, so now if you start taking away, let's do a little copying and pasting here. All righty? So, and this is just, again, finishing up, Jason, the question that you had earlier. So if I were to throw this in here, all right, so now, let's say I make this binary a 0. So what do the remaining decimals add up to here? Do what you all say in the box. 254, exactly, yes. Okay. This is good, okay. All righty, well, let's, and then see if we keep going here, we just keep subtracting here. See, that's what I'm saying, you only have 8 possibilities for a subnet mask number. It's going to be 0 or 128 or 192 or 224 or 240. Or 248 or 252 or 254 or 255. Now don't worry, I went quickly there. This is something you can study. There's charts all over the place that will give you all these. But if you're wondering why you want to get the binary scheme in here, because then that way you can figure out what the subnet mask is supposed to be. So as I think Tristan was the one who put it in the chat box, the subnet mask for /23, what does it look like over here? Well, decimal, from a decimal standpoint, it is 255.255 to 254.0. Now, what kind of a test question could you get here? It's quite possible you get a binary number and you're asked, well, what's the decimal? Simple as that, okay? Now, as I'm a firm believer of, you take advantage of anything you can get for a test. Let me give you a couple pointers here. Okay? I'm going to run something by you all, and you tell me if this makes sense. Okay? So let's say you get a test question. It's saying, here's a binary number, convert it to decimal. Well, would it make sense for me to tell you that if this is a 1 over here, your decimal number is going to be odd, and if this is a 0 over here, your decimal number is going to be even? Does that make sense? Oh, that's cute. Love it. Those of you who didn't see it on the webcam, just had a little girl come in and say hello, and that's sweet. That's great. Love it. All right. Yeah, okay, so, oh, it's a granddaughter going home. Oh, okay, Stephen, yeah. Nice. Okay, so here's the deal. Yeah, if it's, look, if you get a test question on this and you're like, well, okay, take 10101010 and convert it to decimal. Well, look at your answers. Any odd answer is wrong, because that last number is a 0. So right there, you eliminate some wrong answers. In fact, I don't remember the details, and I'm not supposed to say details anyway, but I remember getting a test question on one of these tests, can't remember which one, but I just laughed at it because the binary last number was a 1, and there was only one odd number in the answers. I'm like, check, go, you know. But little things like that you pick up as you study to really help out. Same thing here. Okay, looking at this on the other end, if this first number is a 0, well, then you know that your decimal is going to be under 128, because these remaining 7 numbers right here add up to 127. So what's the tip? The tip is this. And we're going to put a couple things here, okay? First tip, if the last binary number is odd, or excuse me, is 1, the decimal is odd. If the last binary number is 0, the decimal is even. Now, does that help us translate decimal to binary? No. This is just an extra tip, okay? So now a couple of questions have come up in the box on, all right, well, we've got binary to decimal. Now, how do we go the other way? How do we do decimal to binary? Well, for this, let me just make some room down here. All right. Make this the right size for you all. Okay, so let's talk now decimal to binary. The first thing you need is this chart here. Now, those of you who are in studying mode, which I would assume would be all of you, but if you're studying for Network Plus especially, and A+, if you're not sure about this one, I would try to get a snapshot of this in memory, and then when you go to take the test, wherever you go, they give you something to write on. This might be something that you just jot down really quickly. Just put 8 binary numbers in, double the decimals right to left, you have your translation. And if you get any question on that, then you've got something to refer to pretty quickly. So that's something you might consider doing. Anyway, so let's say we want to convert decimal to binary now. Alrighty? So let's take a number like, I'm going to do 2 examples here, and I think you'll get the gist of this fairly quickly. At least I hope you do. So let's say we want to convert 193 to binary. All right? And just as a side question here, Jason's asking, is class E always the /24? Yes. That's why I use it. It's easy. It's easy. It's a very easy starting point. It's easy to double up or go half from there. So again, that's just my way of doing it. You might have a different opinion, but okay. Converting 193 to binary. All right. How many of you remember the game show The Price is Right? And Bob Barker, Drew Carey, whoever else hosted the show. Exactly, Stephen. Okay, what's the whole thing about The Price is Right? Get as high as you can without going over. Well, my friends, that's also how you convert decimal to binary. Okay? Well, let's look at this. All right, let's play this little game here. The Price is Right. Is 128 lower than 193? Absolutely it is. Okay? So you get that number, you turn that one on. Alrighty? And that's 128. Here's the thing. You play The Price is Right and keep subtracting. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, okay, so 193. Well, this represents 128. Okay, so what do you do next? You subtract. 193 minus 128. And the truth is, I gave you too easy of a one here, but that's okay. Okay, so 193 minus 128 is equal to 65. Well, is 64 lower than 65? Yeah, it is. By the way, a lot of you are saying, well, okay, I only have X amount of minutes to take the test. This is seeming like it's taking me a long time. Trust me when I tell you, the more you practice this, the faster it gets. I'll take, nice. Yeah, okay. See, the only model I remember from The Price is Right is Holly. It's the only one they ever talk about, you know. So some of you, I'm sure, will look that up tonight. But anyway, all right. So we subtract again. 65 minus 64, which equals 1. Okay, so let's just keep playing this game now. Is 32 lower than 1? Nope. Okay, so that's a 0. Is 16 lower than 1? That's a 0. Is 8 lower than 1? No, it's not. That's a 0. Is 4 lower than 1? No. 2 is not lower. 1 is a match. There's your answer. You do that enough times, you will get there. All righty, let's do one more here, just to make sure we're getting this. Okay, let's convert. Oh, okay, I can't give you one as easy this time. So let's go with 88, the binary. Okay, now I'm not saying anything except I'm asking the same question each time. Is the first binary number filled in here? Look at your conversion chart. Are we putting a 0 or a 1 in that first column? Okay, everyone's saying 0, so that must be it. You're right. Okay, what about the second column? Put a 1 there. Now to help you all out here, I am going to do the subtraction for you here. Third number, on or off? 0. Okay. How about the fourth one? Jason said 16. That's on. Exactly. Okay, let's subtract again. So what's this one? It's a 1. Yeah, because when the price is right, if you bid the exact price, you win. And we're done. You know, if a contestant bids the exact right amount, show's over, right? Or at least that segment is. And that's how you do it. You want to convert decimal to binary, you play the prices right. You go as high as you can without going over. And the same clues that I gave you for converting the other way apply here. You know, if you get a test question saying convert 195 to binary, well, the last number is going to be a 1 because it's odd. That kind of thing. So, listen, it takes a little practice. Subnetting can take a lot of practice. The key is to get a method going that will make sense to you and then practice it. And by the way, shameless plug time here. Those of you who are studying this stuff, the project workbook in Network Plus I know has some subnetting examples in it. Take advantage of those. I don't remember if we put them in A+ or not. We probably put a couple in there, but I know Network Plus we did because that's a pretty significant test objective. So getting back to where it is an A+? Okay. See, you have to understand, like when I do some, doing these CompTIAs, I wrote the workbooks for Network Plus and A+, so truth be told, a lot of this looks like a blur to me after a while. So I don't remember what I put in which workbook. So thank you for covering me on that, you two. So, okay, so biggest question I have for you, Jason, you're the one who started this, you're the one who asked. I know we spent a good majority of our time here on this, but it's really an important concept for the CompTIA tests. Also, let me tell you, if you're studying the Cisco routing and switching, they will hit you with a couple questions on this. So, this subnetting stuff plays over there as well. Okay, I was going to ask Jason, did this up, and you said much clearer, so that's good. Mission accomplished. Like I said, it just takes practice. So, my suggestion would be this. Get a few numbers in there, practice this a little bit, and use your Windows calculator to verify your answers. Don't use the Windows calculator to do the answers, use the Windows calculator to verify the answers. Now, if you're not 100% sure where that is in the Windows calculator, here's what you do. Let me get my calculator over here. I've got Windows 10, but I'll bring this up. See, I'm on standard right now, but if I move over to programmer, see, I enter 255. There's the 8 ones for binary right there. I guess we should use this to check our work here. So if I go with 193, that looks about right. If I go with 88, that looks about right. Yeah, okay. So there you go. So yeah, absolutely. You use your Windows calculator to verify your work, not do your work, verify your work. By the way, a side note here, I don't know if any of you are going to do this eventually, but Certiport is got a beta certification going for entrepreneurs, small business. So 3 of us LearnKey employees went and took the test, And the first two who took it were telling me that the calculator on the test was kind of weird. I guess you were able to use a calculator. But when I took the test, I never saw the calculator button. So the only thing that I can think of was that a Denver Broncos fan is running this test, and they knew who I was, and they decided to, well, I was going to say something, but I'm just going to say they knew who I was. So that's all I'm going to leave it right at that. Had to be. Either that or a Chiefs fan, one of the two. So, your Windows calculator doesn't work at all, Jim? Oh, okay, I fell into that one. Nice. Well played, Jim. Well played. Fedora. Well, you'll do fine with the Linux questions on the test then, no problem. Huh. Okay, so I know that one took quite a bit of time, but hopefully it was worth the time. We've got a few minutes left. What else y'all got? Going once or twice. Fedora with a picture. Nice. Copy of the video. You mean today? Yeah, Tristan does post these sessions up somewhere. Right, Tristan?
Yeah, I'll post it up in the forum. Once you're done, I'll go ahead and come back to my screen and I'll show them where you can find it.
Oh, okay.
But it's under the student forum under Tutor replays.
Got it. That's good to know, because see, once I get out of here, I never know where this stuff goes. That reminds me, I need to send you this sheet and the one from last week. Okay, so Jason's asking about octets. Let me find the one I did for octets, because looks like we might have something here. Oh. So you're talking about octets as far as IP addresses go there, Jason? Yeah, okay, well, I can define this one then. No problem. If you're talking about octets as far as IP addresses go, there's nothing to calculate, because an octet is just a series of 8 numbers. That's an octet. That's an octet. That's an octet. An octet, listen, they call an IPv4 address a 32-bit address. 32 binary numbers, that's it. Scattered into 8 bits each. So that's what they mean by an octet.
Jason, check James's question about the exam.
Yeah. What you got, James?
Yeah, Jason, I took the 7410 exam last week.
Okay.
I didn't quite make it, but I got to ask. I was presented with some questions on that test that seemed like it was for a different test. Specifically, they were asking me questions on configuring Microsoft Azure. Now, I've looked at my material here, and I can't find anything about that at all. Is that something new?
It's fairly new. I mean, it was out with Windows Server 2012, but...
Right. Do they have any documentation on that would cover that sort of scenario?
Well, there's plenty of documentation. The thing I'd have to go look up for you is like how that fits into the 410 exam.
Yeah, they were asking about configuring it to hold the global catalog and what you needed to do to Microsoft Azure.
Really?
Yeah, you're telling me, right? But that's not the only thing. The exam was full. I mean, full. It was very heavy core services and very heavy DIFM and PowerShell. And a lot of the questions, you know, they were hitting you with were, you know, syntax with switches.
Yeah.
You know, that was very heavy there. And they were also asking a lot about trust between forests. Now, does that
in a 410? That's something that's in the 411 course. They're asking that on the 410 exam?
Yeah, and I kind of took a step back, and I had to ask and make sure I was taking the right test, because it wasn't even, that was something I never even ran across, but I wanted to make sure that was normally outside the boundaries of a 7410 exam, but maybe that's
okay.
To it.
Okay, well, a couple of things on that. I'm doing a little searching while I'm talking to you here. It sounds like that they started popping Azure questions in the last year or so. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which means I'm going to have to go back and update that course a little bit, but that's something that I'll figure out. One thing I've always mentioned to people, because, well, let me put it to you this way, okay? Microsoft is known for stretching the boundaries of their test objectives as much as they can when they do give you a test. And they have their reasons for doing it. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with them, but they're trying to make sure that somebody at least has a little bit of experience before they go take those tests. So one thing I've always told students on this is, at the very least, you want to take the 410 and 411 courses before you sit for the 410 exam.
Well, I'm just learning that. I just found that out from Jenna. That's what she did. She started me on the 411, and I'm not going to retake the 410 until I get a little deeper into 411, because apparently she said that was covered in the 411 stuff.
Right.
But it is
right, and the thing is that they'll take an objective, Microsoft will, they'll take an objective and they'll stretch it as much as they can. So that's why I always tell people, you know, it's the best plan of attack there is to take 410 and 411 and then you know, do all that studying and then sit for the 410 test.
Right. Now, I know when we're short on time, I just got one more thing quickly.
Oh, no problem.
I got really confused on one question. It gave me a picture of the server manager, and there were one domain controller, and there was another server that was a file server, and it was showing in server manager, and its status was showing as access denied, and it asked what you were supposed to do to cure the situation. I just guessed, but is that part, I mean, is that covered too? I don't remember seeing anything about servers coming up with an access denied in server manager.
Well, actually, it just means you don't have, usually it just means you don't have permissions to that server.
From the server that's giving you the access denied, there's a permission issue there, correct?
Right. Yeah, because basically what's telling you there is that you're logged in as somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of access on that.
Right. Okay. Well,
because what will happen is, right, because what will happen is, you know, one thing we cannot assume on the test or any other time in real life is that you're always logged in as a domain admin or somebody with that privilege. You know, it could be like a junior admin who doesn't have access to every single server. So, yeah, if you get an access denied, it just means you're logged in with an account that doesn't have permissions over there. So what you do is you log in as somebody who can get there.
They also had at least 3 questions with scenarios where there were mixed server environments with 2008 and 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to brush up on that quite completely.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, I know we covered upgrading from 08, but I don't remember if we did that in the 410 or 411 courses. It's been a little while since I filmed those.
Yeah, you missed 08. Yeah, you did.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I just don't remember if no, I know that we mentioned 08. I just don't remember if we did it in the 410 or 411 course. Cause,
yeah.
No, like I said, it becomes a bore to me after a while.
The 410 is a very, very hard test. I only got 47 questions on it, but they were really intense questions.
Oh, yeah, they'll do that to you. But, yeah, I'm pretty surprised that they started sticking Azure on there. I mean, one of the things that I always knew that they had on there was read-only domain controllers, which is kind of funny because I don't know anybody who uses them in real life, but those on the test quite a bit, but Azure, huh? Oh, okay.
Azure, and then one other curveball that I just remembered just now is that they there's a question in there proposing what changes you made to some sort of object to get computers, clients on the network, to run a program if they had 8 gigs of RAM installed.
That's a group policy thing.
Yeah, it is. That's what I was figuring. But okay, so I'm right. I'm on the right path. Right. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's about it then.
Cool.